Hey, and welcome back to another episode of Off the Beaten Path. Today, we're traveling to Spring Green, Wisconsin to visit BlueHaus Mallet Shop. Brad Howard began his career as a music educator, and while working in school band programs, he saw a void in the world of mallets, which led him to create BlueHaus. He not only creates some of the best mallets available, but the tooling and supplies for others to rewrap, recycle, and build their own mallets. I found Brad's story and passion especially engaging, and I'm excited to share a look into his process and the space where all these implements are created by hand. Before we get too far into the video, I want to remind you that I'm creating new episodes in this series each month, so make sure to subscribe to this channel to stay up to date on all of my future video releases. So without any further delay, let's take a look inside of BlueHaus Mallet Shop.
Hey, welcome to BlueHaus.
Hey Brad, how you doing?
Doing well.
Well, thanks so much for having me out today. I know that we've been talking for 2 years or more about coming out to visit and seeing it, and so I know the journey it's been putting this space together, all while your company has existed and trying to maintain a schedule of making products and getting them out the door.
So I was a band director and percussion instructor, but in the background of all of that, even when I was in high school and college, I was making my own mallets. The idea of making was there, except when I was teaching, you're making something else, right? The product is something different. It's, you're developing students and you're developing program and things like that. So that's where the energy was being driven. None of the things that BlueHaus makes existed, but it's those experiences from my early teaching days that kind of planted the seed for that most dangerous question of why don't they, why don't they just make a thing that, can do this? Why don't they just provide this service? Why isn't this happening? And a lot of time passes and a couple of decades go by, and I had figured out some solutions to these questions and still looking around like it's not happening. So then you run into that realization that if you have the idea and the means and you can execute on the idea and nobody's doing it, then you kind of have to do it, right? It becomes now it's your responsibility because you have this answer that you think is really good to share, and that teacher spirit of what I have this great idea, I want more people to be able to enjoy it. You're going to share that or at least make it available, right? So that pivots into just a full-blown production mallet shop.
Well, right now we're down here on the first floor of this shop, and so this is where you do most of the dirty work.
Yeah,
right? Or the things that would use woodworking tools that creates a lot of dust and mess.
This is the sequestered space. This is all the sawdust, all the metal work, anything that's going to require a large blade is going to happen in here because I can open up that door and keep it from getting upstairs to the clean shop. So yeah, that's the heavy workshop right there. And here is the light machine shop. And these are not big spaces. This is 24 by 12. The greatest utilization of space that I could conjure given the layout. It's easy to make cheap things quickly. It's very difficult to make excellent things quickly. So that triangle is, you want to make the best thing that you can, but the price that you pay is time.
Yeah.
And you try to front load that as much as possible by, having a logical layout, having good tools, having good processes, having good source material, high quality woods, things like that. Like you build in your time advantage in the beginning with your raw materials as much as you can. But when the rubber meets the road, you still have to make the thing, right? So then it becomes, are your processes good? Because for me, as a sole proprietor, as the producer, anything that gets thrown away is not just a material loss, it's that time loss again. When I cast here at my making station, if something doesn't go well, it's more than just, I lost X amount of, handles and product or raw material product. That time's gone. And if I'm, 2 hours into a build, I've got to do those 2 hours again for whatever happened. Like in the summer, especially because I use polyurethane rubber, which is it does not get along well with water. And in this space, this past summer, because I don't have all my heating and ventilation, I don't have my HVAC set up yet. It was really humid in here. And it was having a very specific effect on medium hard mallets only, just because of the nature of that chemistry for that particular hardness. The handles can be redone and the stuff can be re-poured, but it's that time of the investment on my end to get something out that's going to save the player time on their end. All the mallets are made here. All the handles are made there. Like this is the flow from right around here. It starts there with the raw material, and we're talking raw material. Because I mill in-house, I don't buy handles from a supplier. I buy stock, and I start with just square dowel, and this is birch, and you can see I got a lot of it. And so when an order comes in, particularly a custom order, if they want an 8mm handle, then that gets milled out of this square dowel that day or that week. But even that process of going through and picking and selecting, from the raw material, because it's natural, it was a tree, they're not all the same. And when you get them in batches, they don't come from necessarily the same source. So the process of starting a custom build, even a basic one, starts with a square dowel. Like, this will be a great mallet. It's an awesome tool in potentia. And so if I get an order for like a set of 4, then I will find 4 pieces of raw material that will match, and they have the same flexibility characteristics, and even right down to the color as closely that I can match it. And then I mill those specifically for that order. I don't mill in advance. I don't have a lot of stuff prepped just to pull out of bins because it doesn't know what it's going to be yet. The only thing that's ready to go, but still goes through a screening process, is the natural rattan, because that's a handle. It is already dimensioned. It's ready to go. I have a mixed relationship with natural rattan because of the kind of inherent limits of natural rattan, the warping. Like, this does not want to be straight. This handle was forced to be straight. It's not even this color. Like, it's bleached, and not with great processes either. There's so much that happens to this as a raw material before it even gets to my shop that it drove some innovation that addressed the issues with natural rattan, but is also just a better handle ecologically, which is my e-rattan, which is really cool. I can't show how it's done. It's proprietary, but it's awesome. I don't think we've spoken about this, have we?
No.
The e-rattan is a rattan handle. Like, that is rattan. It's the same material as this, but the bark has been removed. There's no bark on it.
Okay.
Rattan relies on the exterior for its rigidity, for its flex characteristics. One of the issues, though, with rattan is it has a spine. There's a growth that stiffens. It's kind of hard to see. And so it automatically, as you're playing, it's going to settle in the spot where it's the least flexible.
Okay.
Okay. And so that spine will settle inside or outside. And because that's the place where it can settle in and be compliant. And then compliance after compliance after compliance, and it ends up curved and warped. I keep that flex characteristic, I keep the nice natural feel of rattan, but I've replaced the strength and this nature, I replace it with a synthetic core. And that can be carbon fiber or fiberglass. And so you get a flexible handle without all the issues of a flexible handle. Like, this will always be straight. I have e-rattan handles that are 6 years old, straight as the day they were made.
Wow. So we know that the process for forming handles and then cores happens down here.
Yep.
And then when you get finished down here with the messier side of the work, you head upstairs, right?
Yeah, I try to be that efficient. There is a fair amount of going up and down. But yeah, the majority of the cutting and the gross work, the heavy-handed stuff, is all down here. And so then upstairs, I've always referred to as the clean shop. So this is the Mallet Studio. The way I approach mallet making is the whole mallet contributes to the sound. All of the parts and pieces work together as a system. If I wanted to just put cores, glue cores on the handles and wrap them with red hard acrylic yarn, tie them off, get them out the door, I could certainly do that. It's just not the way I want to make. That has predictable outcomes, it has predictable results, and in some cases that would be fine. But that's not the tool I want to make. That's not the implement that I want to provide, especially as a custom maker. Even my stock mallets, everything is made the same, by the way, with the same mentality. Stock simply means that it's an unchangeable set of specifications. That's all stock is for me. It doesn't take necessarily less time. The cost of the materials is definitely not lower because I use the same materials for everything. I don't have B stock for student line and A stock for pros. It's all the same stuff. If a player contacts me or purchases some custom mallets, if I'm not quite sure what they're going for, I ask them to also send some media. Like, send me a recording, send me any videos, and I'll watch their videos without the sound on. I just want to watch them play. I don't want to hear them play. I know, I want to see their approach to the instrument because that'll inform me what I need to do for their handle and what I need to do for their core shape and what I need to do for their wrap. It's a strange translation to get to that point. But again, as a music teacher, you're watching a lot. A music teacher that only listens is missing so much information. You can't just listen, even though you think that's the job. You got to watch what's going on. And so by eliminating the sound element, which is, it feels counterintuitive, but you're just, how does a person approach the marimba? What's their footwork like? Like, how are they creating? And then what can I make that matches that rather than that player having to modify their approach to meet somewhere in the middle with the thing that I've made for them? I want to get all the way to them rather than have them come back to me. It seems deeply philosophical, and it is, but I don't want to make any other way. I am really happy with, with the results. I've never had a return. Like, even if one thing was slightly not right, like, these are still amazing mallets, but can you make one adjustment? And they just keep those. They don't send them back because they're amazing mallets, but they want one little, could you make them just a little bit, just one little tiny tweak? And then I'll do that. And then now they've got two amazing sets, right? People don't send their stuff back. They're happy with it. And what's crazy is that the custom interface on the website, all the thought and all of the calculation that went into just getting those little steps from artist speak into engineering speak was kind of amazing. The person who wants to buy the thing now has to think about their mallets in a different way, right? Which is amazing, which is awesome, because it's good to be shaken up a little bit like that. So I boiled it down to the basics, like handle material, dimensions of that, but then the core shape and the tone that you want out of the core, out of the mallet, separate from the core hardness. I separated tone from hardness, whereas before that a lot of the mentality was, well, I need a set of hard mallets, right? Because hard is going to result in something that's typically brighter, right? So you just kind of go that way. But when you separate core hardness from tone, now you can have a hard mallet that has a dark tone, right? Which I make them all the time. So something that has the characteristic hard, but not the characteristic piercing nature, right? Unless you want it. You can get a hard and bright, right? But you don't have to. Just because a core is a certain hardness doesn't mean that it's automatically, penned in to, well, it's a medium mallet, what else can it do? Well, there's a lot it can do, right? If you start to be very specific with how you consider your specifications. And then the yarn wrap. I used to wrap with just one yarn type exclusively in the beginning. That's expanded quite a bit to 4 yarns, and I'm going to expand again to 5 different yarn materials and blends and weights. I get a lot of mallets for rewrap, and I'll get like a signature mallet from somebody, and it's exactly the same handle, core, same specs as this other signature artist, with very little difference between the two. The biggest difference is how they're stamped. And you think about, well, why is that? Well, they're dealing with, specific materials that companies have invested in. They have to buy them by, the thousands. Whereas BlueHaus never had that even as an option. I could never deal in those numbers because the upfront cost for a young company is so high. Well, that drives innovation. I don't want to buy 1,000 or 10,000 in a lot. I just need 2. I just need 4. And that introduces this idea of casting. This is a master, a traditional mushroom shape. Using all of these, and these are made traditionally, just on a lathe, but highly specific. From these masters, you can make molds. And so when I say I cast the cores onto the handle, it's through molds that are made from the masters that are made in-house. And so if a player needs a specific core shape or sizing, that can just be made. And it's not expensive. It's the cost of Delrin. You chuck up some Delrin and shape and tool it, and in the same day, you can take that master shape, cast a mold, and then that takes about 24 hours to cure, so you can have a sample of that core shape. That flexibility is tremendous. It's very powerful, that flexibility, because it gives one an opportunity or the option to design core shapes that didn't exist, which is the BlueHaus mushroom. The cool thing about the BlueHaus mushroom is this step right here, that step down. I've seen attempts at that where things are kind of scaffolded on after the fact, but as soon as you introduce nails or glue into your mallet making, those mechanical fixes are going to fail. It's a high impact, repetitive environment. So casting purely onto the handle makes that one cohesive tool that operates as a unit. And then as you put more things on, like core banding, the wrap you use, the material that you use, the tension that you apply it, that system just becomes more and more unified.
I think this brings up a great point of where we're at is a lot of the tooling you've used for these final steps of the process are tools that you have made yourself and designed. And not only have you designed them to be usable for you to make your products you're sending to people, a whole nother side of your company is enabling people and schools and programs to rewrap their own mallets. So can you talk a little bit about some of the machinery you've put together for this?
I love talking about the machine. The machine is awesome. It's another point of entry for this world, this keyboard playing world. You can do custom, you can do stock, whatever parameters you want. Whatever your entry level is, that's great. Or you can refurbish. That's all BlueHaus. The real paradigm shift was introduced with the mallet wrapping machine. The thing with the mallet wrapping machine is to engineer it in such a way that all the things that were complicated or hard about wrapping a mallet were just gone. Simplified. Because it's that time trade-off again. The thing with the machine is you are eliminating a factor of mallet making, which was the choke point. Because if you wrap by hand and you're doing this, and you're doing this 100 times or 150 times, that becomes the thing that you're focused. And that is not a creative mindset. You are not in a creative mindset when you're doing this. And the goal with the machine was to trade that off and make this part really fast and easy. So you get that time back to think about, well, what tone do I want? What am I going for? What do I want it to feel like? How are these materials going to work together to make the mallet or the tone, the music, the performance that I want to make? And so all of that was put into this platform, this very general, very accommodating platform, to give the maker back their creative mindset. And the other advantage of this too is not just keeping things in a creative mindset, but what you had mentioned before of the refurbishing the thing that you've already invested in. If the handles are good and the cores are sound, that is still a great mallet. It just needs to be refurbished, right? It just needs to be rewrapped. This is my machine. This was the last pre-production one. and it's the only one I use to make mallets. It's seen a lot. This was also the one that went through the abuse testing.
Okay.
This is the one that was boxed, knocked off a counter, dropped down the stairs. This is the one that had to take the hits before we started shipping that early summer, late spring. So it's proven its worth. It's a robust platform. And that's it. So just in that time, and I was even talking, that's a wrapped mallet. And I know the next, if I can wrap all day and they're all going to come out the same way. That's how this machine is built. It's designed and built for duplication. I want my first one and my 12th one and my 100th mallet to all be the same. There are plenty of mallets in the world, right? There's plenty of mallet makers. Ultimately, the goal for BlueHaus is to make more mallet players. And I want that way of getting there to be awesome. I want that to be a good road to travel, right? So I make good tools. But I can't make enough mallets. And there are plenty out there. If we took everything that needed refurbishing, no one would have to buy mallets this year.
Yeah.
Or the next year. There's plenty out there. We just needed the access to a way of doing that was quick, is easy, can be duplicated. And that's the purpose of this device. That's why it's so simple. I went from having to invest 2 hours into something to 90 seconds. So if this does not sound exactly like what I was hoping for, I'll just take it out. I'll redo it. Now I'm just a few minutes in, and even though maybe it didn't turn out the way I was hoping, there's still value in what was learned there, because I can listen to this and think, well, maybe I wanted a brighter sound than that. It's a little more mellow than I was anticipating. Well, now you have this gift of knowledge. Now you can make a decision on how to adjust it. And the option to adjust a mallet never existed before. Like, that's a new thing. Because before you'd have to take either advice, or you'd have to go back to the store and try something else, or a friend would loan you something, and there were ways that we went around it, but if you can do it in-house, right? The high schools that get these love these. Absolutely love these, because they can get it like on a repair budget rather than a capital outlay. And repair budgets are doing better than capital outlay. And the savings are instant. So once you've made the initial investment, the idea of getting value, salvaging value back out of the thing that you've already invested in, is a no-brainer. Then you have the added bonus, which I think is the real bonus, is the education element. Because when you have an instructor, or your front line and your marching band can make mallets now, it means you can make adjustments, which means rather than investing in a whole new set of stuff, you can adjust the stuff that you have already, that you've already invested in. Like, it's not just economics, it's educational. Now we know how our tools work. What adjustment can we make because we need more projection, or we need a different tone? Let's take our existing set of vibe mallets and adjust them to do that, right? Now it's time to rewrap vibe mallets. Let's make this adjustment, and you just do it.
Yeah, really empowering for those people.
Absolutely. And what is education if not empowering?
I really appreciate you making the time for us to come take a look inside everything you're doing at BlueHaus and really share the inspiration, the process, and everything that goes into making these mallets. If people want to learn more about what you're doing and inquire about custom orders or stock orders, what's the best way to stay in touch?
Best way is through the website, BlueHaus Mallets. If you just search BlueHaus Mallets, you'll end up in the right place. The website's BLUEHA.US, BlueHaus.
All right.
And it's the .us, it's important.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much, and we'll see you soon.
My pleasure. Thanks.